for the donkey of the day. That's pretty funny.
Charlamagne the devil?
Possibly. The Breakfast Club.
Yes, donkey of the day for Wednesday, March 9th. Wednesday, March 9th. If you're a certain age like me, when you hear the date March 9th, you automatically think of the Cannabis Line, the greatest MC of all time, died on March 9th. Long live Christopher Wallace. But today's donkey of the day is going to both the NFL and Calvin Ridley. Okay, is it Ridley or Ridley? Ridley. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I tell you all the time on my various platforms, you can't control how someone is going to react to something you have done. You just can't. Okay, if I walk up to you and shove you, you may shove me back, but you may pull out a gun and send me back to the essence from which I came. And guess what? Folks may say you went too far, but that's not up for us to determine. I made a decision to push you. That was in my control. Whatever decision you make after that is out of my control, which is why this Calvin Ridley NFL situation is challenging me this morning. Okay, see, yesterday Calvin Ridley was suspended from the 2022 NFL season for at least a year for gambling on games in 2021. Let's go to Adam Schefter on ESPN for the report, please.
NFL just suspended the Falcons' standout wide receiver for at least the 2022 season for betting on games. Now, you remember during the season that Ridley was away from the Falcons training complex to deal with mental health issues, and the NFL believes it has found enough evidence to determine that during a 5-day span in November, Ridley bet on football games, and the league conducted an investigation and concluded that there was enough evidence to make Calvin Ridley the latest player suspended indefinitely for betting on football games. We go back to Paul Hornig. We go back to Josh Shaw on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad back in 2019, the last player to be suspended for betting. And in a world in which betting has become more and more prevalent, something like this is no less jarring when the NFL hands down a year-long suspension to one of its marquee players.
Now, this seems like a no-brainer for Donkey of the Day, right? In a series of tweets Monday after the suspension was announced, Calvin Ridley said he bet $1,500 total and that he doesn't have a gambling problem. I don't gamble. I don't understand the allure of gambling. I guess it's something to do, but I'm not into it. I work way too hard for my money, and I've been unemployed 4 times in my life, okay? Well, actually 7 if you count Taco Bell and other jobs, but never will I feel comfortable enough to just gamble. Like, here's my hard-earned money, and I know it's a chance I can win more, but the thought of just losing my initial investment just because I want to gamble for recreation? No, hell no. That's not my kind of investment, okay? It would be simple math for me. I got $11 million on the schedule. $11 million. That was on Calvin Ridley's 2022 schedule. That's how much he was supposed to get paid. To risk all of that for a $1,500 bet? No, that's a guaranteed hee-haw. Okay? I don't gamble, so I don't understand the logic. Is gambling that fun?
Yeah.
Huh? It is?
It is.
Oh, okay. I know.
I enjoy it.
Hey, man, he might have been bored, okay? He wasn't playing NFL. He was taking a mental health break, might have been bored. I don't mind at the devil's playground, but if the league has a no gambling policy, I'm going to follow the policy because I'm not fumbling $11 million, okay, for $1,500. That's essentially what you're doing when you're gambling, all right? You're just playing. If I want to play, I'll play Roblox with my daughter. Now, what makes this situation more puzzling is he was betting on other sports, including the NBA, and that is not against NFL policy. It's not against NFL policy for players to bet on other sports. Calvin, why couldn't you have just kept it to other sports? If you want to gamble and it's not illegal to gamble on other sports, just bet on other sports, all right? This is like couples who have threesomes together, but one of them still sleeps with other people behind their partner's back. You're already getting the threesomes, bruh, okay? So why are you doing something you have no business doing when you're already getting to do what you clearly want? Now, this is where it gets sketchy for me with the NFL. We all know the NFL has a bunch of gambling partnerships now. Okay, so a lot more people will be waging bets on NFL games. So there's a slight level of hypocrisy with this because you are encouraging folks to bet on games. Players are just human beings, all right? As long as players aren't betting against the teams they play for, should it matter? I totally get how this, violates a code of ethics, totally get it. But Roger Goodell released a statement, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he did say that Calvin Ridley's actions put the integrity of the game of football at risk, threaten to damage public confidence in the NFL, and potentially undermine the reputations of your fellow players throughout the league. Now, if the fear is that players will throw games, I get it. But NFL, there is nobody making $11 million that's going to throw a game, okay? In fact, Calvin actually bet on his team, the Falcons, to win. okay, according to this investigation. Falcons was 7-10 last year. Personally, if I was a gambling man, I would never bet on the Falcons, okay? Not last year. Therefore, I don't think he meant any harm. And the NFL said its investigation uncovered no evidence that Ridley used inside information or that any game was compromised in any way. There also was no evidence that any of the Falcons' coaches, staff, or players were aware of his betting activity. And the earliest Ridley can apply for reinstatement is February 15th, 2023? Once again, I can't tell someone how to react. We all have to deal with the consequences of our actions, and we can't choose the consequences. But the reason I think the NFL deserves some of this hee-haw is because, one, I think the suspension is excessive. And I also believe if this was one of the NFL's superstars, don't get me wrong, Calvin Ridley's a marquee player for the Atlanta Falcons, but if this is one of the NFL's superstars, like one of the faces of the league, like a Patrick Mahomes, or if this happened to Tom Brady, I don't think he gets a full year. I just simply don't. Maybe a game or two, okay? Aaron Rodgers lied about his COVID vaccination status and was fined $14,000 for it. Antonio Brown was suspended for 3 games for the same offense. So therefore, all NFL rules are not created equal. Mark my words, a bigger star is going to get caught gambling on games, and they're not going to get a year. Mark my words, when you start making gambling available via DraftKings and FanDuels and whatever other platform, and people just got to pull out their phones to make a bet or two, it's going to be some players gambling, okay? No matter how much of an example y'all try to make out of Calvin, it's going to be some players gambling. But I guarantee we going to hear of an NFL star, a face of the league, placing these same bets, and it won't be such a harsh punishment. Mark my words. Should Calvin have faced consequences? Yes. Do I think it should have been a year? No. But once again, we can't control consequences, only actions. All I'm telling y'all is watch the NFL, because it will be an NFL star, a face of the league, that displays these same actions at some point, and I highly doubt they will receive the same consequences. Don't believe me? Just watch. In the meantime, please give the NFL and Calvin Ridley the sweet sounds of the Hamiltons.
You are the donkey of the day. You are the donkey of the day. Yeehaw.
All right. Donkey of the Day is brought to you by the law office of Michael S. Lamonsoff. Don't be a donkey. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say the bull if you've been hurt in a construction accident. That's pound 250 from your cell and say the bull.